All right, listener name, are you ready to dive into Nigeria with me today?
Sounds good to me.
I am excited about this one because you specifically asked for a deep dive into what's happening over in Nigeria right now. And you wanted to get a little briefing on current events over there.
Right.
And we're going to do that by looking at Daily Post Nigeria,
Okay.
which is a major Nigerian news outlet.
Excellent.
So we are hoping that by looking at this, we can get like a pulse of what's happening in the country.
Yeah, definitely.
And specifically, you were interested in anything we could find that was related to the Edo State governorship election, which is happening on Saturday.
Huge.
Yes. So that is a big deal.
Absolutely. And one of the more fascinating things that jumped out at me when we were looking at Daily Post Nigeria was this unexpected calm. You would think that with such a pivotal event just a couple days away, that things would be a little more, I don't know, intense,
Yeah.
a little more,
Heated. Yeah.
yeah, a little more frenzy.
Yeah.
And Daily Post Nigeria was painting this picture of just everyday life carrying on as usual. No real signs of pre-election hustle and bustle, which I have to admit I've found interesting.
Yeah, me too. And, it's got me thinking, like, is this a sign that people are confident in the process, or could it point to something else?
Yeah.
Like
Apathy.
apathy or disengagement?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a question worth pondering as we unpack some of this. Okay, so we have this like almost eerie calm over in Edo State.
Yeah.
But then when we look at the national news, it's like, bam. Assassination attempts, blazing fires, appeals for the release of political figures. It's a lot.
Yeah, it seems like somebody cranked the drama knob up a little bit.
Totally.
But yeah, I mean, you look at the alleged assassination attempt on Michael Okoji.
Oh, man. And we can't talk about this without mentioning his wife is Mercy Johnson, the Nollywood actress.
Exactly. I mean, regardless of the details, an event like this involving such a high-profile figure instantly injects a level of uncertainty and intrigue into the political landscape. Is this a personal attack, or could there be political motivations at play here, especially with the election right around the corner?
Yeah.
These are the questions that I think are swirling around Nigeria right now.
Yeah. It makes you wonder, what is the bigger picture here? What is the strategy? Could this even be a tactic to influence the election?
Possibly.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a potential, like, political thriller on our hands. But then we have this other story that's almost like out of an action movie. The Enugu governor's Pinnacle Oil filling station going up in flames.
Yeah, and it's not even just the fire itself. It's the fact that there is video footage circulating, and it's amplifying the impact of this incident.
Right.
So this raises some serious questions about the government's ability to maintain security, especially in this already tense pre-election period.
Of course.
So you have to ask yourself, is this a random act of violence?
Yes.
Or is there something more organized and potentially politically motivated behind it?
Right, and this isn't happening in a vacuum.
Yeah.
We have to consider the bigger picture of unrest in Nigeria.
Yeah.
With groups like IPOB, the indigenous people of Biafra actively advocating for their own independent state.
Right.
And speaking of IPOB, there's another development you should know about, listener name, involving their leader, Nnamdi Kanu.
Jewish priests have actually appealed to President Tinubu for Kanu's release. They cited his deteriorating health and called for like a more peaceful approach to resolving this Biafran question.
Wow. It's a complex situation, to say the least.
Yeah.
Kanu's detention has become a rallying point for IPOB supporters and a source of tension for the government. This appeal for his release just shines a light on these deep-rooted issues, this self-determination and the ongoing struggle for power and representation
Absolutely.
within Nigeria. But amidst all of this political drama, listener name, there's another layer to unpack.
Yeah,
The economic landscape.
for sure.
What's going on over there?
Yeah, and it's not just about oil and gas, although those are certainly major players. Daily Post Nigeria also highlighted some interesting developments in the financial sector, specifically regarding the Central Bank of Nigeria's cybersecurity levy.
Oh, yeah, the cybersecurity levy. Now, for those who haven't heard, this was a proposed tax on electronic transactions, and it wasn't exactly met with open arms.
Right. It sparked a lot of debate and pushback from businesses and citizens alike. What's important here is that the CBN has come forward to debunk rumors about reinstating the levy.
Oh.
So in a volatile economic climate, even the hint of a new tax can just send shockwaves through the entire system.
Yeah, it's like when you hear a rumor about your favorite store increasing prices.
Yeah.
Suddenly everybody's rushing to stock up before the, supposed hike. So this clarification from the CBN, it's crucial for businesses trying to plan ahead and for everyday Nigerians who are already grappling with a rising cost of living.
Right.
And speaking of economic challenges, the situation with the Dangote refinery, This is an interesting piece of the puzzle.
It really
It's
is.
like we have Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, opens this massive refinery, supposedly capable of meeting Nigeria's fuel demands. You would think that would be a game changer,
Yeah,
right? I
so
mean,
I think
huge E.
it should be a big deal.
Right.
But, and here's the head scratcher, marketers seem to be sticking with imported fuel.
Interesting.
Even with this local option right there, it's like, thanks, but no thanks, Dangote.
Yeah.
And that raises all sorts of questions.
Right.
Are there pricing advantages to importing fuel? Is there just a reluctance to fully embrace a locally produced alternative? Or could it be something else entirely?
Yeah.
It's a fascinating glimpse into the complexities of Nigeria's energy sector and this struggle to achieve self-sufficiency.
It's like this weird economic mystery playing out. But,
yeah.
as we've been talking, listener name, I can't help but notice this common thread running through all these stories. The Edo state election, this assassination attempt, this refinery situation. It's like, what's the connection?
Well, and I think what's so fascinating is how these seemingly separate events all kind of intertwine.
Mhm.
They paint this really multifaceted picture of Nigeria today.
Okay.
We're looking at a country that's clearly on the cusp of change. They're grappling with political maneuvering. There are security concerns, economic uncertainties, this desire for greater autonomy.
It's like we zoomed in on Edo State to understand this election. But in doing so, we've actually uncovered all these other interconnected layers within Nigeria as a whole.
Yeah, and I think it's just a reminder that current events are never these isolated incidents. They're all part of a much larger tapestry of history and economics and social dynamics.
Absolutely.
So as you're kind of absorbing all of this, listener name, the question I would leave you with is this. As Nigeria kind of navigates these complex issues, what do you think the future holds? What kind of impact will these events have on the upcoming election? And how might they shape the country's trajectory in the months and years to come?
So we've given you the pieces of the puzzle, listener name. Now it's up to you to assemble it and draw your own conclusions about what's happening over in Nigeria. Until next time.